Alrighty. Hi, everyone, and welcome. We'll just get started in a few moments as people are still joining. By the way, I'm Laura from the product marketing. My name isn't Katana Marketing, but while we are waiting, you can actually be able to see very soon a quick poll popping up. So if you don't mind, we'd love to get a bit of a sense of where you are in your advanced manufacturing journey. So we can also address the results in the Q&A and tailor the session a bit as we go on. But let's wait a minute or two to allow people to join before we get started. Alrighty, to the ones who are joining, there's a quick little poll, but we're going to start soon as well. I might have gotten a bit carried away with the number of questions in the poll, but I'm just very curious as well. But I think we can go ahead and get started. Hi again, everyone, and welcome. Very glad to have you here today for our live training on how to get the most out of Katana's advanced manufacturing add-on. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce you today's host. I'm Laura from the product marketing team. And we also have Dago here, who is the product manager and the one leading the development of the add-on and knows it inside out. Then we have Taylor, who's one of our onboarding managers and a former Katana customer himself. So he really has firsthand experience in implementing the add-on, especially the shop floor app and optimizing operations. And he has quite a few good tips to share with you. And we also have Chris from the customer success team, who is really laser focused on helping you grow with the right data and workflows. So what we're going to do today is we'll walk through what the advanced manufacturing add-on is briefly, focusing mainly on the how to set it up and get the max out of it, whether you already implemented some of it or not, and share some best practices as we go. And then we're going to also talk about how to track impact and improve over time. And we're going to finish with the Q&A. So anytime you have any questions coming in, popping up, then feel free to just use the little Q&A panel on your Zoom screen and add them there. We'll make sure to take some time to address them. But without further ado, let's dive in. I'll hand it over to Dago.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome all of you from my side as well. As Laura mentioned, I am Dago. I'm the product manager of all manufacturing and advanced manufacturing in Katana. And today I'm going to tell you something about why we even created advanced manufacturing as such. So what we recognized is that on the market, the companies or our customer base actually started growing, and the complexity of the products started growing, the complexity of the process, and also the teams grew quite heavily. And that introduced quite a bit of challenges to the companies, that there was loss of quality and efficiency, as the products, if you want to have proper quality, you need the repeatability of each product. Hence, we had to do something that will address these parts. Also, when you grow rapidly, you tend to start spending a lot more on your production than you would efficiently want to do. So that's something that we also had to address with the improvements of how you would actually tackle your process, how your team on the floor gets assignments and how they ensure the quality, and also the ways of how you get the visibility afterwards, and not only actually afterwards, but how you can implement the visibility of your statistics that you capture to the future improvements of your process as well. And hence, there are now four major pillars in the advanced manufacturing, which Taylor is going to deep dive a little bit further. But yeah, short list just from me is the shop floor app, the manufacturing insights, the advanced routings and the operation types, and also the ingredient picking, which all combine this quality, efficiency, and also repeatability for you if they are executed right. But I would hand over from here to Taylor to talk a little bit more in depth about these.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Sago. And today we'll be reviewing those routing and operation types, how we set that up in Katana. We'll show how to set up and optimize the shop floor app. We'll talk about the new ingredient picking feature and how that can kind of be used, and how to use it effectively. And then I'll talk a little bit on the manufacturing insights before handing it over to Chris to go a little deeper into that. While we're doing this, I'll start out kind of basic too, for those of you who maybe haven't used the shop floor control app before, the advanced manufacturing. We'll start out kind of basic. And then from my personal experience as a Katana customer, also touch on some of those maybe pain points that I encountered and maybe some best practices there as well. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we'll jump right into it. So first things first is I have our settings page opened up on Katana, and we have a couple tabs here starting out with operations and resources. I just wanted to quickly point these out. These are great for organizing how you want to see your operations in a drop-down list, and you can also clean it up if you have maybe some old unused operations that you don't want to show up in that list anymore. You can add to here, and you can remove and reorganize them. Next, on the resources tab, very similar, but you can add a default operator so that you don't necessarily have to assign an operator every time you have a new operation coming out for a manufacturing order. And we can set the default cost per hour for those resources. Next, we have the manufacturing settings, where we can enable the picking feature. We also have a few options for the shop floor control app. Over here on the right, I have my test account pulled up. And we can do things like ask for the consumed ingredients. So as an operator is using ingredients, if you have a flexible recipe, maybe you're trying to get percentages and that value might change, they have control over tracking how much they actually consume and the quantity of finished products as well. If they have a variable output on what they're making, you can control, and they can have input into what that is, along with some dates here, manufacturing order deadlines and sales order deadlines as well. For now, I'm not going to enable this feature. We'll come back to that in a moment, but let's jump over to a product real quick and look at how the operations are actually set up for a product. So now I'm in a product that I sell. It's a metal coat rack. I have a recipe called out. We have a backing plate and some hooks. And then under the operations tab, we have a few options here. First is the type. This can be really beneficial depending on how these operations actually work on the shop floor and in the real world. An example is the process type. That used to be the primary type that we had, and we can actually click this little eye icon to see how each of these are calculated. But the process type is going to take your plan time times the quantity of whatever we're making, multiplied by the cost per hour. So in an example for this next one, tumble, for example, if we tumble these parts to give them a good finish prior to painting, we might call for an hour of tumbling, regardless of if we have 1 part or 500 parts. Now, with the standard process type, that's going to call for 500 hours of tumbling time, even though we could put multiple in a tumbler at one time. And that's where things like setup type come in handy, because it modifies that calculation. Now we take the quantity out of that and we're just doing planned time multiplied by cost per hour. We also have a per unit and a fixed cost that you can use. So in my example here, I've used a setup type for my tumble, and in painting, quality control, and packing are all per units, along with the typical process type for welding. Now, on a manufacturing order, right now operations are not enabled in sequence. So if I were to log into an app, I would see every step that I have on a manufacturing order is open to start. And I could even start at the packing step. Even though it's the last one on my list, I see that it's there. Now, when I enable operations in sequence, then I have control over which order do they go in. Can any of these be done consecutively, which I don't have a great example for, except for maybe quality control and packing. Maybe those could be done at the same time, and we could combine those together. So quality control and packing could be done in one step, or we can drag them out and separate them so that they are individual. Now, the benefit to this, if we jump over to this manufacturing order, is we'll go to make. We'll open up this manufacturing order. Now, since we've made a change, we'll get a refresh data option here. I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and we should see it in real time. Update to, now I just have the first step. Once I complete this in the app, then it's going to say the tumble step is next, and it will consecutively show me which tasks need to go. Now, while we're on this page, I wanted to bring up a quick best practice now that we're actually in a manufacturing order. We do have the ability to assign multiple operators to something. So in this case, I'm currently assigned, and we have another operator named Matt. Now, in my real world example, if I called in sick and I was working on this, we'll go ahead and start it in the app. So I have this running. Now, if I work on this all day, maybe it's going to take into the next day. So I pause it at the end of the day. Now, if I call in sick and we need to pick this up, there are a couple different options here, but since I've started it, we can't add myself as another operator to it. So one of the workarounds that we came up with was to add a row to this operation, which let me go ahead and back that up to not start it and see if that unlocks it. It might be because I have operations in sequence here. But we would actually add another step called welding finish. I would move it into here, and now I would assign that second operator to it. I would stop the time of my initial operator. So if in my case, I would add this to say that it actually took 2 hours, and then let the second operator pick up from there. Now, this became beneficial in reporting later on because I could still filter by welding to see both what was started and what was finished. So I still had accurate reporting, but I could also break it down into how much were each operator contributing to that project. So helpful there if you are dealing with multiple operators. All right, next, let's look at the picking feature. So first things first, we have a standard manufacturing order in the system, and we have the picking feature not enabled. If I navigate to my stock page, we get some helpful data here showing that the raw ingredients, the hooks and the backing plate, I have some in stock and they show as committed. So in my calculated stock, I don't have any excess and I'm not missing any. But they're still showing as in stock. Even if this employee has started the project, this doesn't change. The values in stock do not change until all of the manufacturing order steps are completed and the manufacturing order is marked as done. At that point, the stock transfer will happen. We'll remove the materials from stock and we'll add the finished goods into inventory. Now, what the picking feature allows us to do, let me go ahead and enable it, is if we go back to the manufacturing order, now we'll have a new option up here where we can pick all. And essentially what we're doing is we're allocating that inventory to this specific manufacturing order prior to it actually being completed, but just making it easier for visibility to say, hey, this has been picked, it's being worked on, and it's not available for any other manufacturing orders. So in this case, let's go ahead and pick all. And now let's navigate back to the stock page and look at what's been changed here. So now for my rod hooks and my backing plate, I don't have any in stock. There are none committed because they were removed from inventory for this metal coat rack, but since that manufacturing order is not done, I still don't have any of the coat racks in stock. They're still in an expected status, so they are expected to come in. And if we click into here, we can see that inventory movement. We're looking at the inventory intel panel for the hooks, and we can see where manufacturing order number 51 that we were just looking at did take those 80 out of inventory there. All right, and let's go back to make. And let's open this manufacturing order up. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this original one that we've done there for the second operator. Now for a quick demonstration on in the app, as we're going through it, when you open up a manufacturing order, once you're signed in, you'll get to see what tasks do you have available. In this case, since we're using consecutive operations, I have my welding step as number 1, and I'm building 20 of these. If I open it up, it's going to tell me what components do I need. And we can see the operations currently. It's this task that we're working on and what's upcoming. And also notes if there are any notes on the manufacturing order. Once I hit start, as you kind of saw earlier, it is live where your production manager and internal teams will see what is being worked on. Now I have the option to pause or finish this task. Pause is great for if you're going on lunch break or going to start it the next day and you're leaving for the end of the day, which we'll actually talk on a pain point that I encountered with end of the day and lunch periods there as well. But if you pause it, it will update in Katana on the UI here as well. So you can see that that's paused. Now I have the option to quit this task or resume as an operator. In this case, let's resume it and let's mark this as finished. Now I finished it in the app here, but if you had the other settings enabled, that would be an example of where it might ask you how many did you complete or what ingredients did you consume if that's applicable to your workflow. Now that we've got the confirmation here, I can select OK. We see that that's done. I did it in 38 seconds. It tracked my actual time there, which at any time from your production team, if you do need to go modify this, you can as well. Maybe we could add that this took 2 hours there. And you can edit that based on what actually happened. And now if I go back to my home screen on the app, I can see that we're in the next status. So this is the tumble step that we had talked about earlier, where we have the setup type. And essentially we repeat this process and continue going down, unlocking each next step when we complete it. All right, so quickly I'd like to touch on that time that we saw there. One of the things that I encountered personally in using Katana is at the end of the day, maybe somebody forgets to hit that pause button. They get busy, they get distracted and accidentally go home at the end of the day. And next day we come in and we see that we have maybe a 2-hour task that's gone on for 14 hours and it's still running. Obviously that can skew your data pretty significantly. So in order to be kind of reactive to that and also try to catch it as soon as possible, one of the tips and tricks that I came up with was I used something called make.com. And I created a simple automation. This is one of the low-code integration services where it connects with Katana and other tools like Slack or Teams or Google Chat, whatever you use for internal messaging. And what I have the ability to do is set up a timed event. So at 5:05 in the evening, we close at 5. So at 5:05, I would add this run. What it's going to do is it will filter and list any manufacturing order operation row that is running. And then I have a brief pause for API rate limiting. And then I'm actually going to update those manufacturing order operation rows and pause them. Then finally, I'm going to message myself or a production manager or some manager on the team and say, hey, this manufacturing order was left running. So-and-so left it running, so please have a chat with them. But then it also triggers them to go into Katana and check this time and adjust it. So if we came in the next day and it's 14 hours here, they would double check with that employee how long were they actually working on it and fix the time once it's completed. So a really helpful tool to kind of automate that process, make it visible, and also let the team know what's going on with it. So that can be really helpful there. All right. And then finally, I'll briefly touch on the insights and the reporting. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can get some reporting from this. I'll let Chris dive a little deeper into the insights under our manufacturing, but this is really good for some high-level overviews as far as what does the manufacturing process look like? What are our planned versus actual times? How is everything going? Kind of at that high-level overview. Now, for me in my previous role, I needed to get a little more nitty-gritty onto specific products and specifically people on how they were making them and what their performance was. In that case, what I would use is under my Make tab, under Tasks, and Done. Typically, I would use information here where I can filter by, if I scroll over to the right, the operator, who it was completed by. I can look at planned versus actual time. I can search for SKUs, and I can filter by specific dates. Now, in-app, we can export this to get an Excel file if you want to report on that and plug it into something like a Power BI, Google Looker Studio, something along those lines to get a dashboard more people specific. What I ended up doing, for a little background on my side, was using Make once again and using our webhook functionality. Anytime a manufacturing order was completed, I used that as a trigger event to populate a Google spreadsheet. And in that, I could get a little more detailed. I'll pull up a quick example here of this is a employee performance review where I could look at their performance over the last year. And obviously, if I see large spikes like this, it would be something that I need to investigate. I can see things like total plan time, total actual time, and how far ahead they are. I also did the same thing for specific product reviews where I could see them on the big scale. I could plot the graph, look for max time, minimum time, averages, etc., and dig a little deeper in with some conditional formatting to show what was below the plan time or above. So I got some really unique reporting out of this using a webhook from make.com. They do have some free options, for example, that auto pause tool that you get, I think it's 1,000 events per month for free. So that would be something that you could fit on their free plan. Depending on your manufacturing orders you're completing, something a little more advanced like the webhooks might be on a paid tier, but definitely a really powerful tool. So awesome place to start there. But I will hand it over to Chris to dive a little deeper into the insights side of things in Katana. And thank you all for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. Laura, do you mind sharing back?
Yes, one second. The Zoom froze here for me. Okay. Yes, here we go.
Perfect. Just before we dive into the insights, just a couple of things I wanted to show you guys in terms of what the add-on can do for you guys. So you see a couple of things here, a couple of charts here that we as the CS team shares with our clients when we have these account reviews. So if you haven't seen these and you think these are cool, make sure to reach out to your CSMs. Self-plug there. But you see the first one there. This is the planned versus actual time used for operations. What that means is the times that you've planned on your operations on your manufacturing orders on average versus the actual time that Taylor showed that you can edit either manually or through the app, to the timer, how those matches. So you see on the first chart there's a lot of one-to-ones now and then there's some some fluctuations here and there, but by and large, 1-to-1 means that your planned times and actual times are pretty matched up, which on its surface sounds pretty good, but in reality, it probably means that this client wasn't able to manually update those times. So they just kind of took the planned time as is, took the actual time as the planned time, and just going through the day, closing those manufacturing orders. So they're not really getting that much data. You see some fluctuations that they're trying to update those times, but doesn't always work. It's a lot of guesswork. They can't find the right person to ask. And maybe there's just too many manufacturing orders. So they don't actually get the reliable data for costing decisions. Whereas in that second one, you see that this client gets the data because it's not just 1-to-1. They realize that their plan versus actual time in that example B is much higher than 1-to-1. So they see that data, they then go ahead and change their plan time so that they can get closer to that 1-to-1. They're still not quite there yet, but you see that they're edging closer and closer to that one mark. So now the data that they're getting from the app, the timing that they're getting allows them to predict costs way more accurately because they can then adjust their plan time. This might be an ongoing process, as you can see later, but you can get closer and closer to that 1-to-1. And then now you have accurate costing. Now you can tell your clients with more accuracy when they're going to get their deliveries. So that's a huge help for a lot of clients. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So this here, you can see a kind of a before after picture for this particular client. They started their app usage in May last year, and you can see an immediate impact on the fluctuations in the time spent on their operation. So they were 1-to-1 before. Again, they were just closing manufacturing orders. As soon as they started using the app, they started getting data on the actual time they were spending on the operations, and then they've been regularly getting changing their plan time so that it goes back to 1-to-1. They're introducing new SKUs and new operations, and so there's more fluctuation. But then because they do get the data from the app, they're able to bring it back down to that 1-to-1 mark by updating the plan time. Again, this shows that the app allowed them to be able to more accurately predict when their manufacturing orders will get done and how much it will cost them in terms of labor. And the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is I've talked to many clients, and this is kind of a list of tasks that they're doing each day. Without the app, they have to print out the list of tasks that each employee has to do. They have to give them that list. They have to give their manager a list of their team's task. And then they have to make sure that everyone gets the materials that they have, and they get asked, they have to ask each employee, hey, where are you with this MO? And then they get asked, where is that MO? Because I have to start my part. So there's a lot of moving parts here. And it really eats into their day of their day to day. And then at the end of the week, they get asked, hey, can we get a costing report for the month or something like that? So a lot of this stuff can be automated with the shop floor app, with the sequencing that's happening in Katana. We also talked about ingredients picking, and then I'm going to go into the insights a little more. But these are the sort of day-to-day things that a lot of our clients are having trouble with that I've talked to. So these are the kind of things that the add-on is geared towards helping you guys with. And then the kind of numbers that you guys save is basically the time spent doing all these tasks and what we can automate with the app itself. So now I'm gonna go into the insights a little more. Where is my screen? Let me just find that as well. So Taylor touched on this a little bit in terms of what the manufacturing insights look like. You see a lot of charts here, a lot of graphs. So they kind of show you the progression, the trends that are happening on a product level, on a cost level. So you see how your costs are fluctuating. You see how per product each cost is fluctuating. So you can really clearly see if there's anything that's out of the ordinary, anything that looks really off. You can see that at a glance here. But I'm very much a numbers guy. I usually like to go all the way down to the bottom because this chart here shows me a list of the unit cost, the ingredients cost, and the operation cost breakdown of them on all your products. What a lot of clients don't usually do, and I suggest them do this, is doing the sorting function on these tasks on these tables here. That allows you to quickly see if there's anything that's way off. Like if there's anything that is 0, for example, hey, that shouldn't be the case. We might need to change up the operations on this particular product. Maybe we missed it. Ingredients cost as well. Hey, this shouldn't be 0. There must be something wrong with it, so we can investigate that way. And also using these filters. A lot of clients just take it as is. So using these filters allows you to say, hey, I want to break down this numbers feels a little off. I'm going to break down it into order numbers and see which order was it that brought the numbers way higher or way lower than it's supposed to be. And then I know which order I'm supposed to look into and figure out, okay, this is the order where maybe, as Taylor said, someone didn't turn off the app, someone didn't pause their operation at the end of the day, so my operation cost is way high. I don't need to look through each manufacturing order to figure out which one that is. I can just come here, see the numbers, and be like, okay, this is the one where the operation unit cost is way higher than the rest. I'm going to look into it and see what's up with this particular order. So this is a very nice table to have, and using the filters to be able to do that for you. The other ones, there's multiple tabs here as well. So that one that I went over was the cost overview. You can also break it down into ingredients, so you can see just on the ingredient side, the ingredients usage of your orders week over week and per product as well. So similar thing where you can then also see the quantity difference. This is a big one. This is the one where you can see what the difference is that I planned versus what the difference is that I've used. So this is where you can say, okay, these are the ones where my planning is way off. I'm going to look into it and see if that's indeed the case, and then update my planning so that going forward I have actual cost. So this is the ingredient side. So you can also sort by this cost discrepancy to see similar data. So you can break it down that way and figure out which ones it is that I have to pay attention to. Similar on the resources side. So you saw ingredients. This is more of the operation side. Yeah, so the trends you can see by the chart. Again, I'm very much a numbers guy, so I usually go down to the bottom and see the breakdown. I love doing that. So yeah, the cost difference is the big one. Is there a cost difference on, or even time difference, depending on what you like to see? Which ones is it where my planned time or my planned labor is much different than my actual labor, and then break it down that way. And again, use your filters so that you can see if there's an order number that is wrong. You can break that down first to see, okay, it's not the order number, it's the actual product. So you can see whether or not it's just one order that's wrong, or is it a combination of everything. So this breakdown is very helpful for you when you want to see which product, which order is it that you want to update, and make sure that your planning going forward is good to go. Another thing that I wanted to point to is, Taylor touched on this a little bit. We have a lot of clients where they do want to see at a glance all the tasks that are available. Perhaps you might have some screens on the shop floor, and you might want to break it down in terms of your resources. This is a very good screen to say, hey, these are the tasks that are currently outstanding. You can filter it by resource. Perhaps in a certain station, you can say these are the tasks at this particular station. What are the statuses? Who is assigned to it? So this is a very nice view as well for your management team, even for everyone on the shop floor to have a view of everything that is going on at particular stations or overall on your shop floor. So that's mainly all the things that I wanted to go over. I think the next part is we open the floor up for questions, right?
Yes, exactly. Feel free to add any questions or to the Q&A section. I'll take over the screen share here. But to open this up, can you guys see my screen? Yeah, all good? Cool. To open this up, let's see what we have. There was one question about tracking wastage or shrinkage in production. What would be the best approach there? Dago or Taylor, I think this one is for you.
Yeah, I was looking for the unmute button. I'm sorry. Wastage tracking. So this is something that it kind of heavily depends on the workflow or the process that you aim to capture there. If you just aim to capture the finished product's cost included or including the wastage, then I would encourage you to actually set up your products in this way that the bill of materials contains a little bit excess materials. And if you want this to stay that way, then don't enable your operators to report the actual consumption, because then they would say that I used much less, and the wastage that is supposed to go in there, like ends of something, or then evaporating liquids or something like this, then you don't capture these. But in case you would want to capture like all the things precisely as they go, then of course it's exactly so that add a little bit more, then your operators would report what they actually consumed, and you would get actually correct result in the end. But what the struggle there is, I give you that, is that you don't get a very specific report out of that, how much of it was actually put into the production and how much of it was a waste per se. So that's my take on this. Taylor, maybe you want to add something?
I think you really nailed it as far as how that works in the normal operations. The one thing I would add to that is I also had an internal reporting method for if something was seen around the shop and something's missing, something's damaged. We used an internal messaging app and a standard operating procedure to report if something's damaged, so that it can be removed via a stock adjustment by an inventory manager, production manager, and we can track and see what's going on there. So outside of the normal manufacturing orders like Tago walked into, I made sure to have a good operating procedure for how to track scrap that might not be on a manufacturing order yet, or might just be in stock. So that's all I have to add to that. And thank you, Tago. Great point there.
Thanks, guys. Another one, how can we see the scheduling for third parties, like, for example, powder coating in Insights?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is using our outsourced purchase orders. It's a little different than the advanced manufacturing. So we would set up a different product, one that would be the powder coated part. We would have the raw part that we're producing in-house. We'd produce that. And then with the outsourced purchase order module, we would call out our supplier. We would be able to add it to that. It would consume one of those raw parts and it would return a powder coated part. We're not tracking time in the sense that you would on the advanced manufacturing order, but we are tracking the cost per unit, or however they're going to bill you for that powder coating charge. Yeah, I'd really recommend checking the outsourced purchase order add-on that we have, or feature, I should say, that we have. It is included, but that's probably where I would go with that one. Tago, any notes there from your perspective, or?
No, I would say you nailed it as exactly as I would have said it.
Okay.
Yep, and we even have a guide for like this partially outsourcing manufacturing in our knowledge base as well. I'll drop you the link to the person who asked the question soon. Another one around picking. There was a pick all option. Is there a pick sum ability for items that get consumed at different stages of the process?
Yeah, I get that point as well, that it's quite it can be quite tricky sometimes if the batches are, or the production runs are quite large, and you have you are consuming materials in several steps. Then it may be really vital to do so. But no, there is no big sum option at the moment available. However, if there is like, if it's the only struggle you would have there, and there would be some manual efforts put into that, then you can always change the quantity on the manufacturing order for specific materials, and then pick all, and then change it back, so you get a partially picked solution. I know that's a workaround for now, and but that's just some tips and tricks that I would do personally.
Thank you, Dago. If you have an operator that requires more operation, that requires more than one person to work on it together, how do you track the multiple operators working on the same operation in the shop floor app?
I'll start out with this one, and then I'll lean on Taco in case he has any other ideas too. The first thing that comes to mind for me is if you have an operation that you have multiple people working on, it might be worth setting up that operation to have a multiplied cost per hour by the operators that you have. And in my previous experience too, I would use booths, for example, or stations as who that gets assigned to. Then one person at that station would start it. The team of, say, 2 people would be working on it together. Maybe it's the cost per hour times 2. And then they can track that. So at least you're getting your labor costs in there. You do lose a little visibility when you go the station route for operations, just because you can't see who exactly was working on it. In the event you do need to track Taylor and Matt both worked on this for an hour, then it would have to be the 2 separate operations, like I demonstrated in that sample there. That could be done with using maybe consecutive operations and build it that way. But as soon as you click on 2 names, that essentially says who's available to work on it or who can start it. But if you have multiple operators assigned, it's not going to break it down into Taylor did 1 hour and Matt did 2 hours. It's going to say Taylor and Matt combined spent 3 hours on that. And once I start that task, Matt cannot start it with me while I'm working on it, since I am currently running it. So I think the best case would be 2 operations assigned to unique individuals, or create a station with a higher cost per hour and let them work on that together in that station. Those are the first things that come to mind for me.
Yeah, no further comments to that. Again, you nailed exactly my answer.
I'll get back to Dago on the picking question. That when you would be using the pick all option, will that trigger minimal inventory amounts for reordering even before the operation has completed?
Would it trigger reordering? It would empty your inventory, and it would basically tell you that you're, or nothing would tell you that, but you would know from your inventory that you are missing some stuff. And also, if you did not have enough stock available, then you, instead of going negative in your stock, you would get partially picked inventory, and your inventory available quantity will be 0. So you need to reorder this, and you can clearly see that need from your inventory view.
Taylor, you unmuted for a second. Anything you want to add?
Nope, Tago nailed it.
Alrighty. Now another question regarding outsourcing operations. What is the best way to account for outsourced operations, both in planned and actual hours and cost?
I think this goes back to that outsourced purchase order. Although we're not going to be tracking the actual hours that they spent, I'll go back to that powder coating example that we used. I would use the expected date coming back on. Think of it like a purchase order. I'm ordering a powder coated part, but it's going to be consuming ingredients from my inventory. It's going to take the raw ingredients that I have out of inventory. And once I receive that outsourced purchase order, it'll bring in powder coated goods to inventory using the expected date of, say, they give you a 2-week turnaround time. Use the expected date 2 weeks from today. And then when you're looking at it on the stock page on open orders, it will say that those components are expected 2 weeks from today, and you can have a good idea of when you should be expecting those in. So although we're not tracking cost per hour, planned and actual time on the outsourcing side, we are handing that off for them to manage. So the powder coaters are going to be managing their workflows, and we're going to treat it kind of like a mix between a manufacturing order and a purchase order. But as Laura mentioned, the knowledge base has some awesome articles on the outsourced purchase order that I'd highly recommend checking out. It is a very powerful feature that should be able to help there.
Mhm. However, there is probably a little bit extra to that as well. So in case you do not have any materials to track in the process, then you may have a little bit different approach as well. So you, in essence, you can use a specified operation as outsourced operation. So if you only need some labor from outsourcing, either it's a contractor visiting your own factory, you may have agreed pricing with them, so they get paid by piece, they get paid by an hour. So in this case, you would treat the operations a similar way, but you would maybe want to rename these operations so that you can clearly identify them from your insights later on. But also, if your subcontractors get paid by hour, then you have the operation type per unit. That is exactly that accounts for unit cost. And yeah, if they are separated, then these hours you can also track if they are getting paid hourly. Yeah, so
Thank you. From the poll, I saw quite a few bringing out as one of the top challenge getting accurate production costing. Do you guys have any kind of good advice like to give, or what you have seen? Where do most go wrong, or what quick wins there are to help fix it?
I can start out with this one. And I would also like to, I was reading the polls as well. I'm going to tie it into the 5th question on the poll, where a lot of people haven't introduced it yet, or their team is pretty new with it. One of the most important things that I ran into with the shop floor control app is the employee buy-in, making your team realize the importance of accurately tracking times in Katana when they're using the shop floor control app, seeing the importance of it, and seeing real world returns on why are we doing this? You know, if it's making it so that you're reducing your lead times, you're increasing your efficiency, and your production times are going down, and that can turn into real world benefits for them, like promotions, raises, etc. Show them the value in it by reviewing that data and really monitoring it, and then it gets more and more accurate data back. Now, as far as setting up the account, the resource types, or sorry, the operation types that Tago was just talking about and that I showed in my demo, those can be really beneficial for getting as accurate of a cost in the system to start out with as you possibly can. But the other recommendation that I have is review this data often and frequently. We kind of got into a bad habit early on with Katana, where once a year when we're doing employee reviews or when we're doing a big product change, we'd go look at the data. Later on, we got to the point where we were reviewing it at least once a week. And what we saw when we were reviewing it much more frequently is we could make more real-time changes. If I found a 14-hour time that somebody left unpaused overnight and I found it 3 months later, it's too late to go talk to them and ask what happened or try to fix it. But if I find it this week and see what happened last week, I can approach that subject, work with the employee on what might have happened there, Again, we weren't doing it for disciplinary action. We're just trying to get more accurate data in there. So review the data often, make changes to it. If you see that the plan time you thought it took was actually 4 hours, in reality, everybody's doing it in 2 hours, update that plan time on the product card under the operations tab so that you get, like Chris had said, closer to that 1-to-1 ratio, and make those updates frequently and check the data frequently as well. I think that's a big help for dialing in those costs and getting it as accurate as possible. And then mirroring what Chris had said as well, on the insights, look for those outliers and investigate it through. Don't just fix it, but see why did it happen and can we prevent it from happening again in the future. So sorry, kind of a long-winded answer there that covered a couple different things, but hopefully that provides some context there.
Yeah, I think for anyone that has that issue, my challenge would definitely be just after this call, go to your insights, do a sort in those tables that I showed earlier, and anything that doesn't make sense, anything that's outlying, if you can see exactly what's going on, fix it and you're good to go. If not, let our support team know, ask for a CSM. We are more than happy to walk you through how to troubleshoot where things are going wrong, and then help you walk through the steps to fix them, so that it might sound like a daunting task, but as you fix these problems, it will get better and better and get closer to that 1-to-1 and one, and then you would have a much smoother process in terms of your costing.
Mhm. But also I would bring in maybe additional thought. If you don't have sufficient amount of data, or your data is really corrupt due to different trials of the process, and not managing process properly previously, then the oldest saying in lean manufacturing that take a stopwatch and measure what your operators are actually doing, and take your eyes and look at what kind of materials they are using in order to complete their tasks, and use that data to put into Katana, and then start from a clean sheet, and you will already start with the quality data, and then you can exactly repeat the things that Taylor and Chris just said.
And coming from the Q&A in regards manufacturing insights, there was a question around if there is a time horizon on the manufacturing insights, as dirty data can impact the view of production cost for a long time.
I can start the answer at least. On the insights, on the left side, there's always going to be a date filter. You can always filter through just looking at the last month, last 3 months. It's the very first filter that you see on the left side. So make sure you set that up so that you don't get those dirty data. You don't get the test data that you have, and you're only looking at things that is relevant for you right now.
Thanks. And before we start wrapping things up, in your experience, what are the biggest mistakes manufacturers make in the initial setup on operations and bombs? That's a really good one.
I would maybe take the first thought that I just covered a few minutes ago. Taking a stopwatch, taking a paper and pen, and look what is actually going on with your products, and don't do a lot of guesswork there. Go and look, go and measure, and put that information into Katana. That's my first thought that comes into my mind.
I'll add on to this too, from both experience as an onboarding manager with Katana and a former customer as well, because I found myself falling into this trap. And I want to preface this with, I don't like calling it a mistake, because it was learning, and you are able to adjust and kind of readdress how you use Katana. It's very easy to modify system too. So start out with what you think is right, try it. Like Tago said, go out on the floor, measure the times, put those in there and start somewhere. But an example would be, when I first started out with Katana and setting it up, we broke down our operations into a variety of different levels. Even if they were being done by the same person, we tried to almost use it like an instruction manual. when it's really good at tracking the cost and the time and what tasks are being worked on. But an example is if you're making a sheet metal project and we have tasks like set up a fixture, tack to the fixture, finish weld, finish grind, and all of these are being done by the same employee. We started out with a variety of operations, all being completed by the same operator. And eventually we realized that that meant the operator was going to their app 5 or 6 times for the one product they're making, and they're starting, pausing, finishing, allowing for a lot more error in multiple operations, where in the end, what we ended up transitioning to was a more simplified operation layout where we had a make step, where we make the product, and we had a QC step. They were done in sequence, so QC would not be available till the first make step was done. But we revamped that just so we have one operation. We're tracking the total time, and we have external resources available for instruction manuals, for 3D files, for guides and how-tos that we would reference our employees to utilize that. But we would strictly use Katana for the time tracking aspect and how is our efficiency going by simplifying it down to just those 2 steps rather than the multiple steps required to make the product. So dialing it in there to what makes it easiest for your team to get the data that you need as a management team to make the best decisions and see what needs to be improved.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I think with most of the clients I've worked with, the ones that have the most trouble are the ones that overthought it. They broke it down too much because you can, because they thought that data was relevant, but it turns out to not be needed because you're not gonna need that detailed of a breakdown in most cases. So yeah, overthinking is definitely the biggest problem. I always tell my clients, replicate what the real life scenario is. Katana is really good with that. So that includes your operations, but also includes your bombs. I've had clients do sub-assemblies when they don't need to. That caused a lot of problems. So things like that where a lot of times, what do you actually do on the shop floor? Replicate that onto Katana. That's always the best advice for me.
Thank you all. And if there were any questions in the Q&A that we didn't cover, we're going to make sure that your customer success manager will get back to you and give you answer there, because we're running out of time here. Great discussion. But before we wrap this up, again, our success team is here to help you. So please feel free to reach out to them. I'm sure they have sent you emails, or you can just let us know. We're going to send you a survey after this webinar. You can just leave your email if you want more help with the setup or more personalized guidance, or have any questions that you need answers to. We'll also follow up with the webinar recording, and we have some really good new guides already up, and a few videos for you, so you can take a look at them with the follow-up email. And we would also love to hear what you thought of this session as well. So please take a minute to fill out the survey to make the future sessions even better. But thank you all again for being here. We hope to see you next time as well, and really hoping that you're leaving with some new ideas and practical tips to get the most out of the advanced manufacturing add-on. Any last words, guys?
Thank you for joining.
I did receive, I think I have some friends watching the webinar asking some questions on the make.com auto pause. I will reach out to your success manager or me if we've worked together, but I will make sure that that's a blueprint and share it with our success team and internally as well, along with a quick demo video on how to set it up. So I'll make that available if anybody does want that as well. It was really helpful for us, so I'll make sure that that gets turned into a blueprint.
Yep. And please leave us your email as well so we can get back to you. you can leave it to the survey as well. Alrighty, thank you all so much for joining, and see you next time, and happy manufacturing.
Everyone.